Well, a look now at police officer conduct. In the past year, we've seen a number of police officer-involved shootings across the country that have claimed several lives.
So the question now is, when is it truly the right time for officers to use force? And how much training on the matter do they get at the police academy? Well, reporter Darryl Forges takes an in-depth look in the Alabama News Network Extra use of force.
Michael Brown.
You took my son away from me.
Eric Garner. And Walter Scott in South Carolina, who was shot in the back by an officer. These names have resonated across the country because of officer-involved shootings and killings. It's caused a big uproar across the country with protests and the start of the Black Lives Matter movement. Montgomery police say when it comes to training officers, especially on the use of force, it starts on day one.
Snap to them. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. At the Montgomery Police Academy, and everyone doesn't make the cut to become an officer.
We try to have classes around 30 people. It seems to be a good number to have. Our dropout rate is usually between 25 to 35%.
Police officer trainees go through several tests to start the academy, including state-mandated physical agility testing, which consists of push-ups, sit-ups, a mile run, and an obstacle course.
Pushing a car, then you have to run a short distance and climb a fence, run a short distance, climb through a window-shaped obstacle, run a short distance and go over a balance beam that's only a foot off the ground, and then drag a dummy a set determined amount of feet.
Once the trainees pass the physical tests, they're in the classroom for several weeks learning about the law. Once they pass that, it's time to go back out and learn about the proper techniques when it comes to using firearms.
Each recruit has to shoot 3 qualifications. We press them to get 3. If they get 2 out of 3, they're still good to go. If they get 1 out of 3, they have to go to remedial training.
If trainees fail to make any of the requirements, they're cut from the course and cannot train or come back to the academy for at least 2 years by the Alabama Police Officer Standards and Training Commission. But the trainees are not only trained on how to use firearms, but also when. That's where the training on the use of force comes into play. There are several guidelines the trainees must follow when it comes to the use of force.
Their use of force must be within the boundaries of the U.S. Constitution, that law, and federal law. Next, they must be within the boundaries of any statutory or state law. They must also look at the limits of the applicable departmental policies, procedures, and the training they went through. And fourthly, it must be in compliance with all the equipment that we issue them around their belt.
This part of the use of force training is only one of over 180 PowerPoint slides and several videos. Even though the officer trainees go through several tests over the use of force in the classroom, Montgomery police say it's important to do reality-based training.
Here at the Police Academy, we have reality-based training as far as video simulation. We'll actually have, we'll put them on the range and we'll stress them out. Mental preparation is a big deal.
After going over parts of the use of force process, I decided to do one of the reality-based trainings to get a better understanding of what officers have to go through. One of the trainings is a simulator, which puts trainees in several situations in which they have to speak to a simulator as if it was an actual situation, and they determine when it's the right time to use their weapon.
SWAT, we have school and workplace violence, non-taser, we have officer down.
In the scenario I did, there was a domestic violence call in which a man was injured by his girlfriend. It was late at night with limited visibility.
What's in our hands? Remember, okay, screwdriver. Screwdriver will it incapacitate you? Will it hurt you?
It could.
Okay, well, I wouldn't probably be like I am right now. Okay.
Hey, man, hey, put the weapon down. Put the weapon down. Put the weapon down, put your hands up.
Wow. See how fast that is?
It was just a split second. The woman reached in her back pocket for a gun, and since I felt threatened, I responded with gunshots. But when it comes to the scenarios, police say they're never the same.
One time we'll make her reach in her back and grab a weapon. The next time she'll reach in her back and she grabs a bottle of liquor. But because it's dark, and because she just threw a knife down, and because I knew she just cut her boyfriend, those are key factors that works in that officer's behavior. Should deadly forces be used? Because all of a sudden she reaches back here. Well, what is that officer led to believe she's reaching for?
With all the controversy surrounding officers and the use of force across the country,
Your hands out now!
there's one question I had to ask. when it comes to the issue. Does race have an impact on the procedures when it comes to using force?
Oh, that's a brutal question. I'd like to answer that question and say, no, I don't think so. I think it has nothing to do with it. Me personally speaking, I think it has all to do with the way they're trained. At least that's what I'd like to believe in my training world, is that you process that particular situation. The things that were presented to you led you to use this reasonable response. And I have a hard time believing that it has something to do with race. At least, and I'm gonna stay with that because I am truly a police officer and I believe in law enforcement all across this country and us doing it the right way.
Montgomery police officials say since the recent events in Ferguson and Baltimore, there's been changes in the way they teach the use of force. But the main thing that's been implemented is de-escalation tactics. Police are trained on the importance of better communication and being more approachable to any and everyone, regardless of the person's race or the situation.
All right, thanks so much, Darryl. Now, out of request from the Montgomery Police Department, we did not interview the police officer trainees, but MPD trains current officers every year on the use of force in order to keep their skills sharp at all times if something were to happen.